Hey everybody, I'm Ryan Ashley, and today we're making snake earrings. I'm really excited about these snake earrings. They're super fun to make, and it's an easy way to incorporate gemstones into your wire jewelry. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about everything you're going to need. Here's what we're using today. I have 26 gauge wire, 28 gauge wire also works super well. 24 is going to be a little too thick. 20 gauge is going to be our ear wire and the main base of our earring. I also have some Delica beads. I have two 2mm sapphire beads. That's for the eyes of the snake. And then I also have some 2mm faceted Spinel beads. And I have a flush cutter, our round nose plier, and then just a couple more. This is our flat nose plier and a chain nose plier. You could also use another flat nose plier. This snake earring is a lot of fun. I love incorporating gemstones and wire to make something unique and beautiful. And I like this too because it's free form. So no two snakes are going to be exactly the same. And I like that. They're kind of going to be a little bit asymmetrical, pretty organic looking, really artisan. So the first thing I do is I'm going to grab my first snake that I already made so I can use it as a reference. I'm going to cut a length of the 20 gauge wire, and really I just need it to be long enough to create a kind of curved snake, and then this length of ear wire is connected to it. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely more than enough wire. And you can just use a little ruler and decide, hey, I want my snake earring to be, let's say, 2 inches. So go ahead and give yourself about 2.5 for the body because you're gonna add some curves, and then whatever length you want for the ear wire. I always like to cut more just to be safe. I'm gonna move this out of the way, and I'll get to the 26 gauge in a moment. So the first thing I like to do is go ahead and bend right where the head is going to be. I just made the head in the middle because this is my starting point, and then I create the curves and add the beads later. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that I have this sort of triangle shaped head so I have room for my 2 little sapphire beads. So I want to make a little bit more of a point there. So I'm using my flat nose plier to just kind of make that a little bit of a sharper point, using my fingers to get it a little bit smaller. And again, I'm not trying to make it exact, but I do want to kind of mirror the shape. So now I'm going to grip the exact same point and push this in a little bit on each side because I want that sort of poisonous snake head look. All right, so I've got that shape. Now the wires are overlapping, so what I'm going to do is, now that I have the shape of the head, grip it just a little bit below that angle and just pull this wire out a bit. Okay, and let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good. I want it a little bit wider. So what I'm going to do is I kind of want this snake here to curve out in the opposite direction of the other one. So that way I have earrings that, even though they're going to be a little asymmetrical, they both kind of come in the same way on each side. So these snakes are not going to be exact. They're going to be kind of organic, a little bit asymmetrical, but I still want them to kind of frame my face in the same way. So this one is pointing out. I want the other one to point in the opposite direction. So when I wear them, they're either both pointing toward my face or away. It'll end up looking way more intentional. So I'm going to, if you notice here, I have the curve kind of coming in. So I want to make this curve come in too. So I'm just kind of bending everything this way, just with my fingers, but you can use a tool if that helps you. And this takes a little zhuzhing, so don't, worry about getting it super right the first time. Okay, and then let's see. So I come in and then I want to go out. So I'm just kind of setting up my shape, and then I'm going to make everything like perfect-ish before I add my beads. So now I'm coming in this way, again trying to kind of mirror that shape. All right, so let's see. I want this to be a little bit more dramatic. There we go. Okay, let's see here. Oh wait, now this matches. That's okay, watch. There we go. Now it's right. Okay, so now I'm gonna, let's see, because you want it to be mirror images, not an exact replica. Okay, now I'm making that part of the shape. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good, pretty good. So what I'm going to do here at this point is I'm going to go ahead and wrap the top of this sort of like rattlesnake look that I created, and then we'll add the beads inside. But I want to go ahead and get this shape kind of ready here. So I started it right around there. So I'm going to go ahead and grip this. Let me double check to make sure I'm good with that. Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna get that in a little bit more. And now, I'm gonna take this one. I'm gripping it pretty darn tightly. Bending it. And I'm kind of loosely, almost, creating this sort of rattle. Just wrapping it around. I'm not using a tool because I really want it to be kind of a little bit loose. Now I do want to kind of crunch these down a tiny bit. So I'm just gonna, there we go. And this is that 20 gauge wire. And if you notice, on this one, I actually went ahead and bent the ear wire a little bit below, and I kept going up with the rattle. So I'm gonna wrap it until it gets to about that point, which it is right now. And then I'm actually gonna take this part of my chain nose plier. Actually, I'm gonna do this, just bend it with my finger and use my round nose plier to then bend that down. Go ahead and give that a little clip to shorten it. There we go. And then what I do to continue the rattle up a little bit is I use my round nose plier and I kind of grip it like that. And I'm going to push it around. But I want to get this kind of over there first. Let's see here. There we go. Get that started. So I continue it. I'm just kind of repositioning it as I go, because it's, you don't have a lot to grip onto with this round nose plier. All right, let's see, does that look pretty good? Okay, cool. So at the very end of that, I kind of just, there we go, kind of let it get a little bit more narrow toward the top. And then I clipped it and kind of hugged that in, squeezed that in. There, I think that looks pretty good. Maybe just a little bit, want it a little bit tighter, so I'm just gonna kind of, there we go. Want it to look a little tighter at the top, a little bit more narrow. Oopsies. Now, I see that my little head of my snake got a little bit maybe misshapen, so I'm just going to kind of add just a little bit of a crimp just right there. Just see that barely added a little shape. And now I'm gonna take my 26 gauge, or if you have it, 28 gauge wire, whatever you have that's more convenient for you. And I'm going to take a length of that, just a little one, a few inches. And the first thing I do is I wrap it right here, just a tiny bit before the curve. And now I push it through there. Actually, let me use my round nose plier here. Kind of grab it, pull it down, and push it down through there. It's kind of hard with a longer piece of wire to get into a small shape like that, so I use my tool to help. Okay. All right, I'm gonna do, maybe take this end of it with my chain nose pliers and just bend it around. I'm wrapping the smaller wire around the thicker wire because that's how we get all of the gemstones on. So now I'm gonna just clip this little tiny piece here, and I'm gonna squeeze in all my little loose ends at the end, but right now I'm just making sure everything's in place. So I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 of my sapphire beads, my little 2mm faceted sapphire beads, to make the eyes. So fun. Okay, let me get the little holes there. And now, to keep them in place, look at those little eyeballs. It's so cute. Okay, so now I'm gonna just wrap them around the other side the same way I did the first time. So I kind of wanna push that wire up. I can use my tool if I need help with that. Push that up. Wrap it around about 3 times. I feel like wrapping it around 2 or 3 times gives it a really nice look and also is really sturdy. So let me go ahead and clip that. And you notice it looks like my snake has a little fat neck now. So I'm just gonna squeeze it in a little bit. Sometimes that happens when you're adding this part of it with those little beads. So I'm just kind of pulling that in a little bit. See, much nicer. This one even has a little bit more, so I'm gonna give it just a little bit more of a neck. Because what if it wants to wear a necklace? So now, this starts to get like really easy and fun. Not that it's not easy or fun already, but this part of wrapping is just like really, really pretty easy. So what I'm gonna do is take another length of that 26 gauge or 28 gauge wire, and I'm gonna get a generous amount here, a couple of feet. Okay, and I am going to wrap around, we'll just call this its little necklace here. I'm gonna start wrapping around. I'm gonna wrap with the shorter end since it's already right there, and I have to do something with it anyway. So I start wrapping it around, and this is where we start to create that ladder look with the beads. So I'm just gonna kind of secure this here, wrap it around a couple more times. Okay, maybe move that out of the way for the moment. And let's see here. Okay, so at this point, I can go ahead and add one of my little delicate beads. I'm just gonna take this wire, add a bead. I might have too much wire, but that's okay. I really don't like adding more wire, and it doesn't really get tangled, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so I'm going to, not quite fitting, so I'm just gonna kind of pull these apart just a tiny bit. There we go, because I want it to be kind of right in between those wire pieces. There we go. Okay, get in there, buddy. All right, so now I'm going to, if we look at this, I do a single wrap in between each bead. So I do the bead and then I wrap around, and then I'm gonna come back up and I'm gonna add one of my Spinel beads. So I have my Spinel, doop, and I'm going to do the wrap. And now I need to grab another delicate bead. So I used colors here that I thought would be really nice for kind of fall, winter. I don't know, it's just nice deep greens and golds makes me think of like party outfits, date nights, just cool weather. So hopefully you'll like it too, but you can use any colors you want. So I'm adding a bead and then doing an additional wrap. And each time I alternate. So one time I'll use the delicate bead and one time I'll use the faceted black Spinel. The delicate beads are just your standard 15-0, and the black Spinel and the sapphire I use for the eyes are 2mm. So I chose to do snakes because I believe that snakes are like my spirit animal. And not like snaky snakes, but you know, snakes shedding their skin, new beginnings, evolution, all of that I think is really cool. So anyway, I've gone ahead and done those 3 final Delica beads, and now I'm gonna finish wrapping this. And what I do here is I literally just wrap until I get to my rattle. And then I kind of pinch it into the rattle. And then we'll just go ahead and go back to those little ends I cut at the beginning. We'll pinch those down and we'll be able to finish up our earring. So now that we get here, I kind of just wrap it into the rattle a bit, just like that, just a couple times. And then I go ahead and clip it with my flush cutters. Okay, and I pinch it down. Get a good pinch there. Go ahead and clip this one. Okay, just doing this to make sure there are no rough edges, and it feels pretty good. And now let's go ahead and bend this back into shape. Okay, straighten it out. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna bend that a little bit more. Look! Gemstone snake earrings. I love them. Now that we've made our snake earrings, let's go ahead and go back through these tools one more time. We have a flush cutter right here. We have our flat nose plier, our chain nose plier, our round nose pliers, and we have our 26 gauge wire. You can also use 28 to wrap around your gemstones, 20 gauge. And then we also use 2mm faceted black Spinel beads, your typical 15-0 Delica beads, and then we use 2mm faceted sapphires for the eyes. If you want to go ahead and pick up supplies and tools like the ones I use today, check out the description below. It's full of great links for you. And while you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know, what's your spirit animal? You never know, we might show you how to make those one day as well. So don't forget, before you go, like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you get a notification every time we publish a new video. Once you make these earrings, you're gonna be able to say, I made this.